What's going on, guys? In this video I wanted to answer a question that came up recently, and it was something I thought I covered this in previous videos, but I guess you can never get enough information when it comes to this, especially for beginners. But it was, do you have any survival tips for white belts? Do I? Now, in previous videos I've mentioned that I consider white belt to be a survival rank. When you are a white belt, what you are learning how to do truly is survive. It should be your primary function. Like, everyone wants to be good at jiu-jitsu when they start. They want to have an offense. They want to be the guy subbing everyone. They want to be that guy, but you just aren't. Not when you start. What you have to learn is defense. And the most basic instinct you have, and the most basic level of defense, you're just looking to survive. Now, some tips for survival, really, some things I say to some of my new students, I say to my old students, like, is one term that we throw on a lot here is be the ball. So I'll start with that. We always kind of be the ball. We'd like yell it across the mat. And ultimately what we're saying is to stay balled up, try to stay connected, keep your knees and elbows and everything kind of pulled inward, and you make yourself a ball. When everything's inward, like T-Rex arms, all these things, you're a bit stronger. You're harder to manipulate. You can be moved around, but it's hard to sub you when you're in that kind of position. What I need to do to make you weak is to extend things away from you, extend your limbs away from your body, crack your shell, get your knees separated from your elbows, from your torso. That way, A, I can make you weaker, and B, I could penetrate your shell and put my body against your body and crush you. From there, I can work submissions in your gi or your limbs and so forth. So when you're on your back and so forth, if they've gotten around your arm or something, just get your frames inward and be the ball. I don't mean like ball up on your side, although that can be an option, and just take a beating or let someone lay on you. And there's times that you kind of have to open up and see if you can escape or get back to guard. And that takes me to my next survival tip, is really just re-guard. People forget this because they always want to fight back. So they're like trying to create scrambles and wrestle into people, wrestle up or wrestle on top, and you don't know where to place yourself yet, and you don't know how to fully sweep. So just re-guard. Get to a half guard and use that half guard to get to a full guard. Just get your guard back. You need to learn how to retain a guard, how to hold a guard before you can attack from your guard. So I'm just trying to get around your guard and attack you, get you in these dominant positions like side control and mount or take your back and so forth. You need to just work to get back to your guard. Guard is by definition a defensive position. So it is of benefit to you to get back to your guard and learn to retain your guard. Nothing could be better for your survival than really learning how to keep someone in your guard. You may feel like it's boring. You may not like holding people there. People may complain that that's all you do. But if that's all you have when you start, it is what it is. You need to survive. Once you learn the different ways of holding someone in your guard, different sizes of people, different strengths, different speeds, different levels of knowledge, then you can learn to expand on that guard and attack from it. So yeah, you definitely want to have, you want to develop that instinct to re-guard and retain your guard. And the last tip I have is tapping. Learning how to tap, learning when to tap. When I say learn how to tap, man, there is a method to the tapping that you should be aware of. I've had to say it to a few people recently, like they do this little, like especially when you're choking them up here, it's like this slight brushing. Nah, man, if you're being choked and you need out of a submission, you tap loud. You tap the person first. If you can't tap them, you tap the mat. There was moments where my hands were tied up and I clapped my feet together. You tap. You need to learn to tap effectively so people know to let you out of certain submissions before something really bad happens. Beyond learning how to tap often. I had a good friend of mine, he passed away. But when he used to come train my team, he was a brown belt, and people would ask him like for tips, and they were white belts. And he said, do you know what the best move I had for the first 6 months of being a white belt? And they'd all like perk up like, what? The tap. He would just tell them, learn how and when to tap. Now let's talk about when to tap. I said tap often. Absolutely. You need to understand when you're in danger, right? And then you get to reset the roll. But don't just tap instinctively just to get out of things. Like personally, as a black belt, I do get agitated sometimes when people just tap to pressure. It is what it is. You can't breathe. You don't know what to do. You kind of exerted yourself in a weird way. You don't have your breathing under control. So you tap out of panic or whatever else. Okay. You just got to get used to, you got to get through that and learn to breathe properly and learn where to relax and how to like position your body certain ways so you're not tapping to pressure or just exhaustion. But submissions, especially joint locks, like somebody's got your arm, You know, if you're brand new, they're probably, hopefully, not going after your legs. Your professor should have that well in hand. But limbs, you probably need to tap sooner. Things can go really bad if you're trying to be prideful and not tap when your arm is fully extended, or your rotator cuff is put in a really bad position. So in those situations, tap. Learn not to get put in those situations. With chokes, my professor, when he comes and does seminars with my students, Professor Henry Matamoros, he does tell my students to like learn to sit in chokes a little bit longer. Like at first it's panic, you tense up, and you don't realize when you start that that's making it worse. So as time goes on, if you can learn to relax, if you can learn how to relax and breathe within those chokes and learn where to place your hands and start to defend yourself, that will come from just not tapping right away, sitting in the chokes a little longer. Now this could be considered bad advice, but it's something that he told me when I was blue belt, and it's something I believe in because it pushed me past a certain threshold, and I've seen it happen for my students. It's what he refers to as a quick trip to heaven. So due to being calm and stuff, or even the times that I got choked unconscious, it was a quick choke. Like I thought I had the defense set. I thought I was in a position where they couldn't complete the choke, and then they did, and then I was out and someone was waking me up. What you learn from that is you get over the fear of the choke. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You go to sleep and then they wake you up. Now, hear me when I say this. This is my disclaimer. You shouldn't be letting people choke you unconscious. That's not good for your brain or your body. But if it does happen, there's something that happens in your brain where you're able to kind of understand the threshold better, and you don't panic as quickly. So you do tend to sit in chokes a little longer, and you kind of, I don't know, it's like your brain adjusted somehow and knows where that threshold is, and it doesn't freak out when someone's snatching up your neck. But with all that aside, tapping. When you're a white belt, you need to tap. Put all that pride aside, and once that submission is in, tap. Outside of that, you need to really start to find a way to not get put in these positions. And as time goes on, keep going to class, keep learning the defenses, keep learning the offenses, keep learning the sweeps and all the different movements. As time progresses, you will get better, and you will start to move beyond just survival, and you'll start to build an offense. But you can't create an offense if you don't know how to survive. So I hope those tips were helpful, but those are my, like right off top, like I just woke up, came to open my gym and decided to shoot this video real fast because that question came up. So off the top of my head, those are tips that I feel are very helpful for a white belt or beginner at jiu-jitsu. So take those into consideration, and I hope this was helpful for you. And if it was, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.